So have a nice day for all of you. So that today that I'm going to start the business economics lecture series under the subject called BMGT 1035. So that I think, as you are aware, that you already have to cover under business economics, the major two aspects called the microeconomics and the macroeconomics. So under microeconomics topics that we have to cover, the introduction to business economics already common to both micro and macro. And if we consider about topic by topic, what are the things that you have to cover and course outline. I think that you already have this cost outline. Please refer the course outline, otherwise that maybe you cannot have good understanding about what you have to cover under business economics, right? So basically under the business economics, you know that two main branches that we can identify as microeconomics, which is dealing with the individual person, individual market structure, or an individual organization, right? That we have to consider about the microeconomics. Then we have to cover again under macroeconomics the totalistic approach or the holistic approach of the economy, right? So then like the production theory, GDP, inflation, unemployment, those things. So that while considering both two parts, so under business economics that we have to focus mainly microeconomics as well as macroeconomics. Right. So then if we consider about the microeconomics that with relate to your syllabi, that we have to concern about the demand and supply and the elasticity, then the consumer behavior. Under the consumer behavior, two approaches we have to identify as the marginal utility approach and the indifference curve approach. So then topic by topic that we are going to discuss with you. I think that through reviewing the LMS page that you may have good understand about the subject of business economic, because we already going to cover all the lectures or the topics in your course outline by using 15 sessions, right? 15 lecture sessions, and again all the related materials already uploaded to the LMS, then that you can self-study, right? You can do the self-study and can do some practices before you sit for examination. Then consumer behavior, under the consumer behavior, that expect to talk about the marginal utility approach and the indifference curve approach. I think maybe sometimes you don't have much understand about this topic, because that one is not covered in A-level syllabus, right? So then after having idea about the consumer behavior, that will move to identify the producer behavior, right? The demand side and the supply side. Then on the production theory. Under the production theory, that we have to consider about what is the feasible range to produce the producer with relate to short run and with relate to long run, right? With regard to short run and long run, then that you can have understanding about the behaviors of the production curves: total production, average production, marginal production, and how we derive with relate to this, how we can identify different stages, and how we select out of these different stages, how we select the best stage. Those are the things that we have to discuss under short run production. Then under the long run production, that we have to consider about by using the two factors, the labor and the capital. By using these two factors, how we maximize, as the producer, how we maximize the profit while minimizing cost by using iso-quant curve and iso-cost curve. So those are it related to the production theory. Then if you consider about then cost theory, so that as a producer we have to concern about the technical efficiency as well as the cost efficiency. So then if we concern about how we minimize the cost by searching, the examining the behavior of the cost curves. So thereby we can identify different cost curves with regard to the short run as well as with regard to the long run, the behaviors of the cost curves. Those things we can identify under cost theory. So with that, after having the good understanding about the production theory, cost theory, and the revenue theories, that we are moving to identify the different market structures exist in the real world, like based on the competition, that we can identify different market structures as perfect competition, monopoly, and imperfect competition, monopolistic competition, and oligopoly market structures. Yeah, under each and every market structure that we have to examine how the market maximize profit while minimizing cost with relate to the short run and long run. But we consider about the oligopoly market structure, will not bother about how they maximize the profit, but we have to consider about the different models with relate to oligopoly market structure. Then if you move to the, after having idea about the market structures, then we have to think about the macroeconomy, right? So the macroeconomy, that is with regard to the holistic, the big picture of the economy, that we want to have understanding about the how the whole economy operate, right? Then we have to consider about the macroeconomic theories, and then from here that we are moving to identify those macroeconomic theories. So that means the under the macroeconomics theories, that national income and the called so, okay, then in the national income, that under the national income, that we have to focus about the basic concepts, that how we calculate national income by using the income method, output method, and the expenditure method. Then the national income determinations with relate to the different sectors, the 2 sector, 3 sector, and 4 sector. So then, and the calculation, the arithmetic calculations which did the national income with the circular flow. Then the extension of the national income with regard to the simple Keynesian model, that with the criticisms of the Hicks and hence that we going to identify the ISLM model. But we consider about not only the goods and service market, but also the financial market as well, and how the goods and service market and the financial market come together to have a macroeconomic equilibrium. Right. So then there's actually interrelated of the topics like the national income, ISLM, ASAD. So that the extension of the ISLM that we identify as aggregate demand and aggregate supply, ASAD model. And most of the macroeconomic issues like the unemployment and under the macroeconomic policies like balance of payment issues, then exchange rate. So those are the things normally that we have to discuss under business economics, right? So then I think after having idea about the whole syllabus, so here that I already mentioned some recommended readings. that Ahuja and Musta, Lipsy and Crystal, right? Lipsy and Crystal, Introduction to Positive Economics. So if you refer that, maybe a little bit easy for you to understand. The language is very simple, right? Then after having idea about the subjects or the topics that we have to cover under the business economics, today I'm going to talk with you about the introduction to economics. So that before moving to subjects, actually, that I just like to introduce about myself. That I'm Professor MP N. Chanadari, the former head of the Department of Human Resource Management, and also the former Deputy Director, Learning Resource, and to the CDCE, right, Center for Distance and Continuous Education Center, and now working as the professor attached to the Department of Human Resource Management. Right, then we'll move to identify the basic things under economics. So as here that as mentioned here, so these are the learning outcomes, right? So after listening to this lecture series, that you can will be able to, right, have the understand about the economics, right? Economics and the fundamental concepts of economic, that you can differentiate the microeconomics from macroeconomics, and also that you may have understanding about the basic economic questions faced by the societies, and also based on that, how the different economies answer for the basic questions, that we can identify different economic systems, right? Different economic systems. So those are the things that we are going to identify today. Then first, we'll move to identify what does mean by the economics, right? Economics, the word also the economia, right? That also the Greek word. Right? If we concerned about the subject, the economics, the how this word, the economics, the word already formed. So that is based on the economic, the Greek word, right? Greek word economia. So that that meaning the administration or management, right? So because we know that economics is very live subject, right? Very live subject, and also interesting subject. So for day-to-day decision makings, that we need the support of the economics, right? Based on the different theories, different concepts, we can have good decisions, rational decisions. Maybe sometimes knowing, or that maybe that having understanding, or without having understand, that most of the time that we are taking the decisions with regard to the economic theories, right? So that when we are going to purchase a good or service, then if we want to produce a good or service, so that each and every step of our day-to-day life also, that we are mostly dealing with the economics theories and the concepts. So therefore, that is very interesting and very important subject. So that's why most of the streams that we are introducing, the subject of economics, that means even though irrespective the whether it is art or commerce, for those subjects, all the streams, that is compulsory subject. So then we'll see why the economics is such important. And also, if we consider about the economics, that is the social science, right? That we know that natural sciences and social sciences were there. So that natural sciences means actually that we can learn in the laboratory, right? Like the physics, chemistry. So those are we consider as natural science subjects. So those things that we can control variables, that we can combine variables to have understanding about the response. But if it is being a social science, that economics is a little bit difficult to do some experiments, right? So if we want to examine the behavior of the consumer, that we cannot control the consumers. That what we can do, actually, we can observe their behavior only. So therefore, that we consider it as a social science, and also we most of the time that we use some sort of assumptions, right? The rational thinking, the assumptions to understand the theories and the concepts specifically. So that's why the subject of economics already have different assumptions, right? So that it's a social science. It examines the behavior of the people, right? Covers the actions of individuals, groups. So those are the things normally which are we focusing. The basically that is examining the process of producing, exchanging, and consuming. Right? So that with regard to the Lionel Robbins, the definition given by the Lionel Robbins about economics. So economics is the science that studies human behavior as a relationship between ends and scale means, which have alternative uses. So ends here, the ends means actually the unlimited wants, right? That you know that being a human that we already have the limitless, right? Ends mean wants, right? We already have unlimited wants, right? Unlimited wants, and we already have scam means limited resources. So therefore, each and every uh, consumer always try to maximize satisfaction, right? Maximize satisfaction or satisfy the unlimited wants with the limited resources, right? So that why we said that we already have limited resources when compared to unlimited resources. So that scarcity actually the relative concept, right? Relative concept. So that we already have limited resources with the unlimited wants. So that I already explained clearly what are the differences between the needs and wants in detail handout, right? So the needs and wants and how the scarcity occurs, all these things, right? Say for example, if we consider about the small example, right? The small example. If we have 1,000 rupees, right? If we have 1,000 rupees, with this 1,000 rupees that we can do different alternative uses, right? We already have here that we already have scare resources, as well as that resource already have alternative uses. We know that by using this 1,000 rupees that we can purchase different type of goods and services, right? Maybe sometimes that by using this 1,000 that we can purchase a frock or the any sort of garment, the frock, or maybe sometimes that you can purchase the slice of pizza, or maybe sometimes that you can by using this 1,000 that you can go to visit movie, cinema. So likewise, by using this 1,000 that you can do different things, right? Different things. Those things we identified as the alternative uses, right? Alternative uses. But can we use this 1,000 for to satisfy all these things? By the same time, by using this 1,000 that you can go for cinema and can purchase a frock and can purchase the pizza. So we cannot do all the things, right? Because we already have only 1,000 rupees, only 1,000 rupees. So therefore, the resource, the money, here we can identify money as the resource, right? Money as the resource. So that the money is scarce. Money is scarce, but we have unlimited wants. We want to purchase goods, we want to purchase frock, we want to purchase pizza, we want to visit movie. So likewise that we have unlimited wants. Then the economics will pave the path how we select. How we select out of these different alternatives, different wants, unlimited wants, how we select out of the different alternative the best with the limited resources. So that is the way of examining, right? Economic is science that may be studied, that may be examined the human behavior. So as a relationship between unlimited wants with the limited resources. Unlimited wants with limited resources which already have alternative uses. The resources already have alternative uses. So therefore that is the simply that we can say the economics is subject how we use scarce resources, how we use scarce resources to satisfy our unlimited wants, right? Unlimited wants. Then actually, if we consider about the business economics, right? The business economics, how those macroeconomics and microeconomic concepts that we can use to enhance the decision making procedure of the business economics, so that there may be a lot of theories comes under the microeconomics and macroeconomics, so that we can use these concepts and theories to predict behaviors and to identify the behaviors, right? So that with the growing complexity of the business, that we can use these theories for decision making process. So if you want to take strategic decisions, so that definitely that you should have good understanding about both microeconomics and macroeconomics. So because we can use the economic logic, concepts, theories, tools for different economic analysis. And rapid increase on demand for professionally trained managerial manpower. So because we know that we have to deal with the micro as well as macroeconomics. With related to the if we consider about the microeconomics, how the costs behave, how the production behave, how we determine the price of the commodity, what are the different market structures. All these things we should have to know. As well as if we are dealing with the macro perspective, the macroeconomy, so that we have to consider about the whole economy. Maybe the different exchange rate determinations, then how inflation work out, and that how the savings, then production work out. So all these things we should have to well aware. So therefore, all these theories, concepts, the rationales, we need to take strategic decisions as managers. So that's why business economics that by based on the macro and microeconomics theories and concepts, we come out a new subject called business economy that may be much needed for the managers to understand the different economic logic, concepts, and theories, which we can use for effective decision-making process, right? So then after having idea about the economics and basic the business economics, we'll move to have understanding about the two main branches of the economics. Two main branches of the economics called microeconomics and the macroeconomics. right? Micro and macro. So those two words also comes from Greek words. The micro is dealing with the individual, right? So the individual, the macro means actually the holistic, the totalistic approach, right? So then how we differentiate macroeconomics from microeconomics? Because the microeconomics is dealing with the individuals. So that may be the particular firm, the household, then individuals, how we determine individual price of the commodity, the wage determination. So likewise, that is dealing with the individual things, while macroeconomics is concerned about the overall economy. That will give the big picture, right? With regard to the microeconomics, that we are determining how the perfect competitive market determine the price. But under the macroeconomics, they will dealing with the how the total economic price level work out. Right? Maybe that if there's a continuous increase of price level, we call inflation. So nowadays we really experience it, right? So if there's a continuous increase in general price level, that we identify it as the inflation, right? So then likewise, there may be some differences, right? There may be differences between microeconomics and macroeconomics. If we consider about the focus, under the micro focus about the individual behavior, macro focus about the holistic or totalistic approach. Then things normally that we consider under microeconomics, basically like the topics like demand and supply here. So here that given different definitions, right? Yeah, different definitions which relate to the microeconomics. So these are some different definitions which relate to the macroeconomics. And if we consider about the concerns which relate to the microeconomics and the macroeconomics, under the microeconomics that we are examining about the individual markets or individual behaviors, and the macroeconomics focus about the national market, right? So like if we concern about the topics that we are considering under microeconomics, maybe the demand and supply, then the product market supply, then the market structures, the cost theory, consumer theory. So those are the topics that we consider under the microeconomics. But if we consider about the macroeconomics, that we are considering about the unemployment, inflation, total output calculation, or mean the GDP, national income calculation, ISLM model, exchange rate, balance of payment. So those are the things normally we consider about the macroeconomic. So these are some differences between the microeconomics and the macroeconomics. If we consider about the micro, small economic unit, here the big picture, and basically concerned with the individuals, basically concerned about the aggregate. Assumptions, microeconomic assumes macro variables remain constant, and when we are studying macroeconomic variables, that we consider microeconomic variables remain constant. So likewise, that we can identify the main differences between microeconomics and the macroeconomics, right? Microeconomics and macroeconomics. So after having understanding about the basic understanding about the micro and macro, that we are moving to identify the basic economic concepts, right? So that before that, I just want to mention another thing under micro and macro, the practically, if we consider about the forest, right? So if we want to study the one tree, right? One tree, then actually the how the tree already formed, then what are the parts of the tree. So then all these things, how the tree grows up. So if we want to study all these things, that we consider it under microeconomics, right? But if you want to the Americas, the some of the aggregation of the all trees, right? Some more the aggregation of all the trees that we can identify as a forest, right? So that if you want to have understanding about the nature of the forest, importance of the forest, so all these things, that is relate to the macroeconomic. So like the forest is concerned as the macroeconomics. So one tree of the forest we can consider as the microeconomics, right? So then if I ask some statements which relate to the microeconomics and macroeconomics, right? I think that you can differentiate whether that statement is related to microeconomics or macroeconomics. And I already gave some sort of assignments also. Then the essay type of questions, as well as the multiple questions. You can go through all these things to have good understand about the subject. Say for example, if we take some statements like the unemployment rate already increased when compared the previous year by 4%. That may be the macro statement because the unemployment, inflation, GDP, all the things, if we concern about the holistic approach, that is related to macro, right? So, but if we consider about the price of the rice, the 1 kilo of the rice is equals to 200 rupees. So that is related to with related to one market. So that the agricultural products related to perfect competitive market structure, so that we can identify it as a microeconomic statement. Then if we consider about the apparel sector development, steadily increase. Or that also we consider as the macro statement. But if we consider about the Hela clothing, the mass or brandings, comparatively the apparel sector garment mass already achieved 2.5 billion turnover. So that sort of statement we consider as the microeconomics, that is related to the micro, right? The macro means the holistic picture or the total picture of the economy, right? I think that you already have clear understanding about the microeconomics as well as the macroeconomics, right? Then with having idea about the micro and macro separately, we'll move to identify the basic concepts or the fundamental concepts of economics. So the first one is the resource, right? So the resources. So resources is actually that resources mean actually that here that basic fundamental concept that we can identify as the scarcity and the choice and opportunity cost. But if we consider about the scarcity, right? If we consider about the scarcity, that we should have to understand about the resources, because the basic fundamental concepts of scarcity, already have the foundation of the limited resources, right? So therefore that how the scarcity occurs, right? How the scarcity occurs, because we know that we already have if we consider about here that this is our wants, right? So that if we consider about our wants, that with this much of huge, the large number of wants that we already have, but compared to our wants that we already have the very small resources, the resources. Very limited amount of resources, right? So that because we know that why the human beings already have unlimited wants, unlimited wants. Is there any difference between wants and needs? Yes, definitely, right? Is there any difference between needs and wants? Yes. Here the wants, needs means actually the basic needs. Basic needs like food, shelter, even nowadays that transportation, education, all these things also considered under the what we call the human needs, the basic needs. So those things that we much essential for the survival of the human, right? Essential to survive. So therefore that we can identify all these things as the basic needs. But the wants means actually that how we are going to satisfy, the way of satisfying our needs. Wants means the way, different ways, right? The different ways that we are going to satisfy our basic needs. Different ways that we are going to satisfy our basic needs. We can identify as the here different ways that we are going to satisfy our basic need, identify as the human needs, right? So for example that we already have a need of the basic need of food, right? Basic need of food, so that one can have the white rice with palsambal, the other one can have the noodles, other one can have the submarine, other one can have the slice of pizza. So likewise, there are different ways. There are different ways to satisfy our basic needs, right? Basic needs. So therefore, here that we are going to identify how we satisfy. How we satisfy. So that basic needs, human wants that there may be different, right? So that different ways that we are satisfying our basic needs while having maybe sometimes noodles, while having rice, likewise that we can satisfy our basic needs. So that wants are numerous, right? Why that we already have uh, different wants. Why we already have the different wants. Some different wants because so wants are, if you consider about the wants are numerous. Vividakarai, gunakarai, කියලා කියන්නේ. So the different wants that we want to have, we want to eat, we want to have entertainment, we want to have the beverages. So likewise, we want to have clothes. So that likewise that we already have different type of words. So that's why we call them. There are numerous words, and also that words are numerous. Likewise, words are multiplied. We are not satisfied. We are not satisfied. If we satisfy one word, then another word will arise. Right? Another word will arise. So likewise, then there are different that we already have the collective mentality, right? Collective mentality. So therefore, that we already want to we not satisfy after fulfilling one want, another want will arise. So if we have one house, that we want to have another house. If we have the bicycle, that we want to have a car. If we have a car, then we want to have a luxury car. So likewise, that we are not satisfied by fulfilling one need. No, that means multiply. So likewise, and also maybe sometimes the some technical or the global changes also affect for the numerous wants, because they already produce different type of goods and services that we were eager to purchase those things. So therefore, that it needs all the things I already explained in detail in the detailed handout. So that wants are why wants are numerous, right? Why wants are numerous? Because why the people already have different wants, because wants are numerous, wants are multiplied, wants are generated. So likewise, different reasons. So that therefore that we already have limitless or unlimited wants when compared to need. So that's why the well-known author, the father of the economics, also said that want the resources enough for need, but not for greed. Right? Resources are enough for need, but not for greed. Right? Then after having idea about the needs and the wants, then we'll have more to have understand about the resources, right? So what are the resources? The resources are scarce. Resources are scarce, and we can identify resources basically. If we consider about the production or the organization, the factors of production, right? The basically factors of production we can identify as the basic resources, right? So like this, the production of for the goods or service, that we need different type of resources, right? That like the land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. So what we paid for as the price for land, that is rent. Rent, right? But is the price for labor, so that is wage. What is the price for capital? That is interest. What is the price for entrepreneurship? That is profit. Right? So then we consider about these natural the resources. The resources means actually we can identify resources as factors of production. Right? Resources means factors of production. The factors of production which we use to produce goods and services, right? Called namely land, labor, capital, and the entrepreneurship. So the land means actually God-gifted things, right? So the God-gifted things given by nature, right? But like the food, wood, minerals, forest, waterfalls, all the things, right? All the things that we consider as the land. So the labor means the physical and mental fitness. Physical and mental fitness of the people, right? And interest means actually, capital. Capital means man-made thing. Man-made things like the machineries, buildings, equipments, all these things, man-made things we consider as the capital. So the entrepreneurship means the person who already combine all these three, that means the labor, land, and capital, prepare a new product or an innovative product, we consider the entrepreneur, right? So then after having idea about this, what are the resources and wants? So what does mean by the scarcity? So what does mean by the scarcity? So scarcity means actually the scarcity, the concept with scarcity already formed, originate because of these unlimited wants and the limited resources, right? So that we already have unlimited wants. We already have unlimited wants and we want to satisfy. We want to satisfy all these unlimited wants with the scarce resources. So that now you already have what does mean by the resources and what is wants. That you now already explained. So that's why that before come to the scarcity, already explained about the idea. What does mean by the resources? The resources means factors of production. So the factors of productions are we consider as the resources and wants, the way of satisfying basic needs. So we already have the unlimited wants. Then as a rational being, a human being, we always try to maximize the satisfaction. We always try to satisfy, fulfill our wants, needs with the limited resources. Then how econ help us, that econ maybe pave the path for us to select, to satisfy, how can satisfy our unlimited wants with limited resources, right? So now I'm going to identify you, have understand about the scarcity, right? How the scarcity occurs, because we already have unlimited wants. With the unlimited wants that we have, only limited resources, therefore the scarcity will scarcity will fall, right? So due to unlimited wants that we are going to satisfy our with the limited resources, that we are going to satisfy our unlimited wants. So that the basic fundamental economic concepts already formed, that is scarcity. So scarcity is the foundation. Right, you have to keep in mind, scarcity is fundamental concept of economics, right? The fundamental or the basic concept of the economics. So that due to scarcity, actually, the subject of economics already originate, right? So that explain the scarcity means that factors of production are finite. So finite or limited. Finite or limited. But wants are infinite. Limitless. Unlimited. Right? So therefore, the problem of mismatching between these unlimited wants and limited resources. The problem of mismatching between these unlimited wants and the limited resource arised, and economics. The economics examine the ways how we satisfy, how we allocate the limited resources to fulfill or to satisfy our unlimited needs and wants, right? So then that is the idea of the scarcity. Due to this scarcity, actually, each and every economy, So each and every economy also faces some basic economic questions. So basic economic questions called what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. Then after that we'll identify, so that if we consider about the real world, that we can identify different scarce resources as well as some unscarce resources, or maybe sometimes even the unscarce that comparatively, comparatively, comparatively not scarce, but that resources also, that natural resources also scarce actually. But when compared to the some commodity, some goods and services, that is relative concept, the comparatively scarce. So why, even though that is we know that the water is very essential good, even though that is not much cost, right? Not much cost when compared to the diamond. So diamond is so expensive. Diamond is so expensive. But when we compare to the water, even though that is very essential commodity, that is not much cost. Why? If we concern about this diamond water paradox, so we know that diamond is very scarce, right? So when compared to the water, you know that diamond is very scarce resource, therefore that already have more value than the water, right? Due to scarcity, right? Due to this scarcity, right? So if we consider about some examples already given to identify the free goods and economic goods. So what are these free goods and what we call the economic goods? So that you know that economic goods and free goods that we can identify based on the scarcity, right? So we can differentiate based on the scarcity. So if it is not much scarce, if it is not much scarce, so that means don't have a price for that. Say for example, like the sunshine, and then the water, fresh air, then the like the emotions like the friendship, happiness, jealous, love, that sort of things that we can identify free goods, right? They don't have the price, they don't have the opportunity cost. Then there are plenty of goods and services. There are plenty of goods and emotions may be available when compared to the economic goods, right? To produce economic goods, we need factors of production. We need factors of production. So that means, for example, if we consider about TV, to produce a TV that we need raw material, we need machineries and equipments, we need laborers, we need entrepreneur. So that we need factors of production. As well as that I will teach you what does mean by the opportunity cost, as well as already have opportunity cost. Thereby, for the free goods have a price. Right? Then by looking at this table, that you can differentiate. So what are the economic goods? What are the free goods? Yeah. Then after having idea about the opportunity cost, then we'll see due to the opportunity, after having idea about scarcity, then we'll move to identify the another concept called choice, right? Due to this scarcity, choice have to be made. So say, for example, that we already have the scarce resource of land, right? The scarce resource of land. So that we can use this land for what? There may be different alternative. So that we can that we can use this land for cultivation. We can use this for cultivation. Maybe sometimes that we can use this land to build a house. To build a house. Or maybe that we can use this land to build a supermarket. Supermarket. So office. So likewise that we can use this land for cultivation, for to build a house or build a supermarket. So likewise that we already have different alternatives, right? Different alternatives. Then even the cultivation, or if we consider about, then that also may have different alternatives. So what are the things that we cultivate? Maybe paddy, maybe tea, rubber, coconut, spicy things, or maybe different type of alternatives. So those we identified as choices for the alternatives. Due to scarcity, the choice will arise, right? That we have to select. There are different alternatives already have. Then we have to select one thing, so that by using the same land, we cannot. We say we have to select one among many alternatives. We have to select one among many alternatives, so that the same land we cannot use for all these purposes. So to build a house, to build a supermarket, and to cultivate. Therefore, we have to select one option. One option. So that the select one among many alternatives. Then we should have to have sacrifice other. So if you select by using this land, that if I select, I will use this land to cultivate something. Then we have to sacrifice all the other alternatives. All the other alternatives. That concept we identify as the opportunity cost, right? So opportunity cost. Then what does mean by the opportunity cost? Opportunity cost means simply, if we select one choice among other alternatives, that we have to sacrifice other alternatives, means we sacrifice the value of the next best alternative. So for example, by referring to the previous example, if you select the option of cultivation, then if you not cultivate, you that already wants to build a supermarket there. Then second option is to build a supermarket. First one, cultivation. So if you select cultivation, definitely you have to sacrifice. The second option, the building a supermarket. So then that option we can identify as the opportunity cost. The value of the next best alternative give up, sacrifice, or forego. Give up, sacrifice, or forego. Then the value of the next best alternative, give up, forego, no sacrifice. We can identify as the opportunity cost. Opportunity cost. So that here there are some examples that you can go through. Opportunity cost may be necessarily not monetary. Let's say, for example, if we consider the time, right here, time, the opportunity cost of watching TV, right? We are not spend any money, right? Necessary, not monetary term. Maybe in non-monetary terms also can identify as opportunity cost, right? Opportunity cost of watching TV. On weekend is a benefit too. Maybe sometimes that you are forgone the study. So therefore, the opportunity cost of watching TV, the value of time that you are sacrificing for study. So likewise, that you can identify different example given here. So after having understanding about the different concepts, like the scarcity, choice, and opportunity cost, right? Scarcity, choice, and opportunity cost, so that we can use the production possibility curve or the PPC curve to reflect all these concepts, the scarcity, choice, and opportunity cost. Maybe that better to have understanding about the PPC, and by using the PPC, how we can draw the all these three concepts: opportunity cost and the opportunity cost, then the what we call scarcity, and the different alternatives, that means the choices, and the opportunity cost, right? Then we'll have to understand about what does mean by this production possibility curve, right? Production possibility curve that we shows the combination of two goods, right? By using the given technology with relate to the certain time period, by using all the resources efficiently in the economy. All the resources efficiently in the economy, if we use two goods, maybe the consumable goods and the industry, or maybe military goods or consumer goods. So that if we produce two goods by using all the resources available in the economy, that identify as the production possibility. So if we draw the curve by using those data, we identify it as a production possibility curve, right? Production possibility curve. The production possibility explained. It gives an idea about by using the available all resources in economy. By using available all resources in the economy under given technology. Under given technology, how much that we can produce, right? How much we can produce as a combination of two goods. That is production possibility. So if we draw that different combination by using a curve, that one we can identify as a production possibility curve, right? So that's why it's explained. That is the graph or the curve. It shows the maximum amount of combination. The maximum amount of combination of two goods that can be produced under a given technology at a certain time period by using our resource efficiently. So all these things actually we consider as the assumptions, right? Given technology, that means technology will not change. Certain time period will not change. That we use all the resource very effectively. We consider as the assumptions. When we are drawing the PPC, we consider these things as assumptions. Then by using this assumption, if we produce maximum amount of two goods by using all the resources in economy, we identify it as the production possibility. So what are the assumptions of the PPC? What are the assumptions of the PPC? What are the assumptions? The economic resource of a country fixed and given fixed at a given point, and technology also fixed, and also resources are fully employed, and we consider only two products, right? So that here that we consider about the PPC production possibility curve or a production possibility frontier. So that may be differentiate. That may be differentiate affordable area from the unaffordable, which we can produce here, right? We can produce here. If we consider this sort of point, so that means we are not efficiently use all the resources. Then that means you should have understanding about how we can shift these curves to right hand side or left, right? So likewise, that you should have good understanding about the shifts of PPC, and if we consider about this sort of point, why we cannot achieve this. So by using PPC, that we can show the basic three fundamental concepts. Three fundamental concepts: scarcity. Yeah. If we consider this sort of point that is out of the boundary, right? We cannot achieve due to scarcity, because we know that if we fully use the resources, we can produce the things only lies only this line, right? That may be differentiate. What are the things that we can produce here shown by this range? But what are the things we cannot produce? Maybe out of this boundary. So that means if we point out any place out of the boundary, identified as the scarcity, right? Scarcity. Then if we consider about the point A or point B, so this may be identified as the alternative, right? That may be alternative. So then if we consider about here, if you want to identify the opportunity cost. So if you want to move from point A to point B, right? Point A to point B. Say, for example, if you want to move from point A to point B. So if you consider about point A, the combination, maybe that you are producing 150. 100 military goods and 50 consumable goods, right? So then if we consider now that you want to produce more consumer goods, right? So then here, if you want to increase the production of consumable goods up to 75, definitely that you have to sacrifice 75 from the military goods. So then likewise that you can show, if you want to increase 25, that you have to sacrifice 75, then you can calculate how much is the opportunity cost, right? The change in Y divided by change in X. How you calculate the opportunity cost? The opportunity cost that you can calculate change in Y divided by change in X, right? So then here, the main basic that you better to have understanding about the principles, main economic principles, right? So that if we consider about the main economic principles, the people face trade-offs. They always consider about it. If you achieve something, that we have to sacrifice something. So that marginalization, they always consider about the marginal cost and marginal revenue. That always want to increase marginal revenue than the marginal cost. The people respond to incentives that people can motivate, right? Motivate through different incentives. then the trade can make everyone better off, that we can have the competitive advantage if we consider about the different trade-offs, different tradings. Okay, so that so likewise that better to have some idea about the basic economic principles, right? Then we'll see the main economic sectors and players in the economy. So that if we consider about under the introduction, that if we consider about the macroeconomic indicators and the macroeconomic functions, definitely we should have understand about the operations of each and every economic sector, right? Each and every economic sector. So that means the household, basically we can identify four main economic players as the household sector, the business sector, government sector, and the foreign sector. Right, then with regard to the national income calculations, that we consider about the behavior about of these two sectors under two sector economy. These three sectors under three sector economy. These four sectors under four sector economy. Right, the household sector, firms, government, and the foreign sector. And then if we consider about the economic models here with regard to the households and firms, that we can identify two sector or simple model. Then with regard to the three sector, with regard to three sector closed economy, household, firms, and government. Right, if it is related to the first sector, household, firms, and government, and the foreign trade, that we can identify it as basic economic models. Then due to scarcity, as I explained earlier also, due to scarcity, right, due to scarcity, the basic economic problems, also basic economic questions arise. So that for each and every economy, have to answer for these basic economic questions. So what are the basic economic questions? Because you know why the basic economic questions arise? Because the world already have very limited resources, but the people's wants, are limited. Wants are unlimited. Therefore, each and every economy have to allocate those limited or the scarce resources among unlimited wants. Then each and every economy therefore have to face for these basic economic questions, irrespective of the type of the economic system. That may be the closed, or maybe the capital, or maybe the mix, or maybe the democratic, or maybe the planned. So irrespective of the economic system, each and every economy have to face for these basic economic questions. They have to answer for the basic economic question. So then we'll see what are the basic economic questions. The first one is, what should be produced? What should be produced? So there may be different goods and services. So maybe the consumable goods, maybe the necessary goods, maybe luxury goods, maybe inferior goods. So likewise, there may be different type of goods. So that if we are not managed properly, so that if we consider about a country like Sri Lanka, so if we produce only the luxury products, if we import only the luxury products without considering necessary goods, then maybe sometimes that economy maybe face some issues. Right? So therefore, that we should have to consider about by using the existing resources, what we have to produce, right? And then how to produce, the way of producing thing. That may be either by using capital or by using labor. If you use plenty or more greater, if we comparatively consider about the labor and capital, if you use greater amount from capital than the labor, we call it as capital incentive. But if you use more labor than capital, that we can identify as labor incentive. So by using the way of producing technology, which technology that you are going to use, whether that is capital incentive or labor incentive, right? Then how to produce, then to whom to produce, that may be based on the different income groups. Maybe for lower income people, maybe for middle income people, maybe for rich people. So likewise, that we have to think about that to whom to produce, right? So what to produce, what amount to produce, how to produce, to whom to produce. Those are the basic economic questions. Irrespective of the system. Each and every economy have to answer for these the basic economic questions. Then based on how the economy going to answer for the questions. For these questions, that we can identify basically 3 different type of market structures, right? Basically 3 different type of market structures as capital economy. Here in the detailed handout, I already uploaded these things. The fundamental concepts of economics. Then the reasons for unlimited human resources. Then what does mean by the choice, opportunity cost, production possibility curve, and the basic economic questions faced by the economy. So based on the economy answer, how the economy answer for the economic questions, that we can identify 3 different economic systems, right? So that if we consider about the ends, so one end we can identify as the capital market structure, and the plan or command market structure. In between that, we can identify mixed economic structure. So therefore, how the economy going to answer for the question. So if all these economic questions answered by the private sector, right? The how to produce, whom to produce, and what to produce. If these questions were answered by the private sector, and that government we identify as the free market system or capitalist market system. There's no government intervention is there. Free enterprise system. So that the invisible hand or the laissez-faire economy will activate, right? So that market system or free market system or the capital system dominated by the private individuals, dominated by the private sector, right? Therefore, that we can see the very competitive environment or productive environment there. There's total economic freedom. There may be total economic freedom, right? I think there's in this, by using this table, that you can identify what are the merits and what are the demerits of different economic system. The private ownership of the means of production. There may be higher productivity and higher competitiveness, and maybe sometimes there's a disadvantage. As a demerit, we can identify propertyless. There may be some the income groups, right? Poverty, less people, rich people, and poor people. The propertyless, so the poverty property, propertyless or propertite people. That means poor people and rich people. There may be haves and have-nots, like that, right? Then economic, high economic efficiency may be there, right? So, and also that price mechanism. The price mechanism will be answer for the questions. So those are the things that we can identify under the as characteristics under capital economy. Most of the Europe countries, like the USA, UK, all these countries that we can identify as more westernized countries, as capitalistic or free market economic countries or free enterprise economic countries. Then the centrally planned or command economic countries, here the basic economic questions, how to produce, what to produce, to whom to produce, so these basic economic questions will be answered by the state sector. That means the government dominated economic structure is there, and there's no classes that are like house and house, not like classes. But the thing is, there may be low competitiveness is there, and that may be lead for lower productivity, right? Lower productivity. So that and also no, there's no economic freedom. Whatever the things produced by the government, the people had to purchase, and there may be central planned or the centralized planning authority may be the they are the one already decided what to produce and how to produce all these things. Therefore, there's no freedom for choice to the people. And if we consider about the examples for central planned or command economies, most of the North Korea, Cuba, those countries, the earlier Chinese countries also, but nowadays that we cannot find out 100% fully centrally planned or command market structures, right? How we categorize all these things, if we concern about the majority, may be biased to capitalist countries, those countries. Even in the US also, we can identify, we can find out the characteristics of command economy. Even in the North Korea, Cuba, so that we can identify characteristics related to the free enterprise economy. So therefore, there's a mixture of the economy, most of the country, but the more than 80%, 90% characteristics relate to mixed, relate to capital, we identify capitalist countries. If it is majority of characteristics relate to or I align with the command economies, we identify those economies as command economy. Right? But the mixed economy means 50-50 like that, right? So that may be the private and state ownership of the means of production, both sectors together already, right? So that the private sector as well as state sector already answered for the questions. And there may be more equal distribution of national income. Equal distribution of national income, and also most of the social network already activated there. That means health, education, all these things will be provided free by the government or at subsidized rates. And as demerits that that actually if we consider about the country like Sri Lanka, India, Pakistan, all these countries following the mixed economy structure, right? So that we know the state enterprises may not be run efficiently, right? So they will run under inefficiency, right? And also that most the prices of goods services provided by both sectors, both private as well as the government sectors, right? So then what are the government role? That they will provide most of the public goods, right? Like the bus stations, social security. So all these things may be provided by the government sector. And also that we can consider some malpractices already be there if we consider about the private, public, mixed economic structure, right? So then those are the things here already explained. All the things with little different market structures, different economic systems. Sorry, not the market structure, different economic systems, right? With different economic systems, so that if it is a capitalist or market system, so what are the characteristics dominated by the private sector, and there may be the CISFA system, and all the things already will explain the command economy. So that already introduced by Das Kapital, published Karl Marx, his famous book, right? The command system economic introduced by the Karl Marx in his famous book of Das Kapital, so which is published in 1867. That is already argues about the fail of the capitalism, right? And introduce the communism, right? So that command system. So what are the characteristics we can identify under command economy, right? And then what are the characteristics of the mixed system? So already explained in detail in the detailed handout as well. Here that through this lecture series, I already introduced about what the seen by the economics, then the main branches of economics as the microeconomics and the macroeconomics, then the basic fundamental economic concepts. Under that, the scarcity of resources, then what are the resources, then why we already have limitless wants, and through limitless wants and with limited resources, how we manage the scarcity. Then with that, the second fundamental economic question, economic concept, the choice, then already introduce the opportunity cost and the relationship between these three fundamental economic concepts by referring to production possibility curve, and what does mean by the production possibility curve, and what are the assumptions of production possibility curve, and what are the basic economic questions when we answer it, the way of answering for basic economic questions already introduced three important economic structures, and what are those economic systems or the structures basically identify as capitalism and command or plan and a mixed economic systems. So what are the characteristics of these economic systems, and what are the merits and demerits of the economic systems? So all these things already covered by today lecture, and yeah, already given some even examples also. Then the merits and demerits. So these things already teach you under today's session. So until we meet from the next session, that I wish you all the very best and have a nice day. So thank you very much for attentive listening.